Okay, we're back. This is Roy Webb, the Disco Boogeyman. And tonight in the studio, I have a dear friend and somebody who I think is just a really crazy person. And I would like to introduce him to you this evening. His name is D.C. LaRue. Good evening, D.C. How are you?
Good evening. How are you? Not crazy, insane.
Well, I personally think he is rather crazy and insane. I think it's in a wonderful musical way. I don't know how much you know about D.C. LaRue, but I'm going to sort of delve into what D.C. LaRue has done in his last 3 albums. And I'd like to start by using an introduction that he uses in his album called The Tea Dance. So let D.C. LaRue introduce himself.
In The Tea Dance.
Okay, as I said, I think he's a rather crazy person because anybody who would start a disco album like that has got to be a little unusual. I know I personally love to listen to your music sort of late at night with headphones because there's so much in it that just really is extremely unusual. And I think to give insight to the people, I would like to play small segments of some of the cuts on some of your 3 albums to give you an idea of some of the things D.C. LaRue puts in an album, and you can figure out how it all blends together. This is Cathedrals.
Where have the numbers gone that marched across my bed? The faces after faces still inside my head. No words of love, the hollow sound of hungry people in the night. Hungry people in the night. Do not say it was wrong or right. Not say it was wrong or right. But call it flight. Right away.
That's Cathedrals, and now I'd like to go to a tune called Lady in Atlanta and just play the sort of end of that because I think it's the most unusual thing to find in a disco album. Let's get right into that. Okay, that most definitely is Dixieland jazz. What is that doing in a disco album, DC?
Well, if you listen very carefully, you still got the old 4 on the floor right there. Boom, 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 boom. And the reason we did that was to show that, everybody lays the rap on you that disco music is very limited and you're really confined. And so what I've really set out to do with all of my 3 albums is to prove that within the confines of disco music, quote unquote, you can do just about anything you want to do, and it can sound good.
I think that's exactly what he does do. I think there's a little bit more that I'd like to play for you to give you a further insight to this man and his music. This is from a tune called Oh Baba, and I'd like to give you a little bit of that. Okay, that reminds me of Miss Aluba. I don't know if you ever heard that record.
Miss Aluba, yeah.
Once again, what is that doing in your albums?
That's doing in my album because about right after I had recorded Cathedrals, I went to Rio for Carnival. And while I was there, I went to all the carnival, the samba school parades, etc. And I happened to fall in love with this one particular tune, and it's a native tune. It was like a samba school winner. It was down. It's a tune that came from Brazil. And when I got back and it was time to do the second album, I said, I have to put this tune on my album. And they said, yeah, well, how are they going to dance to it? I said, just, give it the little hi-hat, give it the little four on the floor. And again, it goes to prove that you can just take any kind of tune and any kind of, from any situation and make it work within that limited, everybody's limited disco formula.
I think that most assuredly that's what this program is about, in the sense that to feature some of the finest mixes that disc jockeys use and their blend of unusual instrumentation and melodies within the disco frame. And I think that you, probably more than any other artist that I'm aware of, tends to really put not only unusual music within your music, but also tends to put an awful lot of what's really happening in your life in your albums. Because I know, like, when you made the arrangements to go with Casablanca, that you came out with an album, and it just seems like you were sort of telling everybody exactly what was coming in your own secret sort of way. So I'd like to play the beginning of D.C. LaRue Going to Hollywood.
They say, let us begin. I'm going to Hollywood. Ooh, I'll ballyhoo. Greetings to you. I'm going to Hollywood.
Okay, that is extremely unusual. Let's face it. That's really, really a little crazy. Now tell me, were you really trying to tell people that you were actually going to Casablanca? Does it have any relevance to that whatsoever?
It's bizarre because when I initially did it, I did it as like a joke. And it's funny because since I have gone to Casablanca Records and they are in Hollywood, I in fact sit back and listen to the album, and I say it must have been some kind of predetermined thing, because I actually did go to Hollywood to record the third album.
Right. How do you like being with Casablanca?
I love being with Casablanca. They treat me very, very well, and they're a great company.
This is New York, and this is WKTU FM 92. I picked out those segments of D.C. LaRue's music because I think they're extremely unusual, and I think that you'll get a very, very clear image of this gentleman's talent. So, D.C., thank you very much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here on my first show, and I'd like to know a little bit about what you think of the show.
Well, I think it's a great concept. I think that what you're going after about the actual feeling of the disco disc jockey and the way he mixes and the whole feeling behind what he in particular does with the record in a club, and then putting it on radio, which hasn't really been done before. I think it's a great approach.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. I think it's really tremendous of WKTU to bring this kind of a program to the air. How do you feel about WKTU?
Well, all I know is what I hear from the streets. It's like I walk along the streets, and in the last 2 weeks, every radio I hear has been turned on WKTU 92. So it must be the hot spot on the dial at this point in New York City.